Welcome to Quilt Museum Television. My name is Frank Bennett. I'm the CEO of the National Quilt Museum. Every month with this show, we'll be bringing you stories about exhibits at the museum, events, educational programs, and our mission to bring the work of today's quilter to all corners of the globe. We're going to start this episode by looking at some of the extraordinary exhibits currently at the museum. Right now, the museum is featuring the masterworks of artist Libby Lehman and an extraordinary exhibit brought to you by SAQA entitled H2O. Let's go take a look at those exhibits.
Hello, my name is Robert Worden. I'm a docent at the National Quilt Museum in Paducah, Kentucky, and I would like to invite you to a wonderful exhibit right now entitled Joy by Libby Lehman. You're going to find some quilts that are done by hand, some done by machine, and the thread work is fabulous. This exhibit is going to run through October 17th, so you have a limited time. Please come down. You're going to enjoy it. Libby does some fabulous work overlapping fabrics and overlapping thread. Some of her thread work is so outstanding and so exhausting, you wonder how in the world she could have gotten that done in the limited time. Libby's one of those pioneer quilters. She's on the verge of the headway for modern quilting. She's one of the founders. Come down, enjoy it, and see it with me. I think you're going to have a very good time. Again, from the National Quilt Museum, this is Robert saying, I'll see you when you get here. Thank you. Good day.
This month, water is the uniting theme in the exhibit called H2O by the Studio Art Quilt Associates and will be featured at the National Quilt Museum through September 19, 2017. This phenomenal exhibit focuses on all aspects of water and features 30 artifacts that all specifically deal with how water is essential to human life around the world. Again, this exhibit will be featured until September 19th, so make sure you get down to the National Quilt Museum to see it.
For more information about these exhibits and future exhibits coming to the museum, go to quiltmuseum.org and click on the icon for exhibits. One of the museum's most important missions is bringing quilting to future generations. In our next segment, we talk to Education Director Becky Glaspie about Quilt Camp.
I'm Becky Glaspie. I'm the Director of Education here at the National Quilt Museum in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our kids' quilt camps that we run each summer and a little bit about what those programs entail and what the kids actually end up doing with our camps. We have several different sessions and different skill levels, so we start with our beginner kids that we run. It's ages 7 to 17. And we get the kids in, we provide all of the materials, we give them sewing machines, we give them fabric and choices. They're learning how to sew with the sewing machine, learning how to use a 1/4-inch stitch, which is the foundation of any quilter starting out, to learning how to put those pieces together. They build their blocks, turn the blocks into a completed quilt top, and then they'll actually layer their quilt, they pillow turn, and then they'll actually add embroidery ties to hold the layers of their quilt together. And of course, the quilt is never finished unless it has a label, so we make sure that they put their label on the back, they add their name. A lot of time the kids might be making the quilt for somebody else, making it for a friend or family member, so they can add that to the label itself to go with the design. And our beginners, we have 2 sessions, and so we have 40 kids total that come through beginner camp. And we have a sample quilt that we provide what their direction is going to be, but those kids get to choose their colors, they get to choose their design, and kind of put their own artistic spin into that quilt, into their design, how they want to put that together. During the camp, they get to go into the museum galleries. We take them each day into the gallery to see the quilts, see what other types of quilters are doing, what they're making, kind of use that for inspiration or ways to learn about different aspects of quilt making. And at the end of the 4 days, they get to go home and they have a completed quilt that they've made start to finish, and they get to show it off and show it to their families. They get to use it forever or gift it to a friend or family member, however they want to bring that together with their project. Then our second week of camp, we do intermediate in a morning class, and we do about a dozen students, ages 10 and up. And that's where we start teaching them how to use a rotary cutter. So we're advancing some of those skills. They have to have some background of quilt camp before they get to that point. They are then machine piecing. We also introduce machine quilting into this session, so they really get to play with fabric and the color of thread and the designs that they're stitching into their quilt to hold the layers together. They also get to go into the galleries, explore some of the different quilts. We look a little more closely at those quilt stitches in the gallery exhibits so they can see all the different possibilities and all the different options that are out there in terms of quilt making. And then our final session is Advanced Camp, and that's ages 13 and up. We have about a dozen kids in there each year as well, and that's a way to explore different avenues of quilt making. They've learned the basics, they've been to beginner camp, they've been to intermediate, so now they know how to use that rotary cutter. They've done this before, and so they get to explore things like paper piecing or curved piecing blocks. We're going to do some free motion quilting this summer, learning how to use on the sewing machines, some different quilting techniques. So they really get to try different techniques, try different avenues, and really explore more about the art of quilt making as a whole. It can be a little bit chaotic with so many kids coming through together, so many different projects going on to try and keep straight who wanted which color and which piece we were grabbing to make sure they had all the same colors or the same print for their design, depending on the child. But it is really exciting. You get that sense of enthusiasm, that excitement that comes through with the kids. So as soon as they're walking in the doors, especially by the second day, third day of camp, they're ready to go. They come in, they want to sit down, they want to start working on their projects. I love when they're kids who don't want to let their parents see what they're making until they're all done. So when mom drops them off, they go, okay, bye, or grandpa, you can't see this until it's finished, because maybe they're making it for them to gift, or they just don't want anyone to see what the process is. They want to have that surprise reveal, that kind of big look at the end. And so they really get into it. They get really excited about what they're going to choose and showing off each of their stages of progress, or seeing what the afternoon class did by the time they come back the next morning. So they get to see what other kids are making. And then you create, by seeing all these different things. So it feeds my creativity and what I want to do in projects that I'm excited to bring to our kids' programs and to our camps. But then it's also a way that I can, excite them about quilt making, and we're not always making the same patterns. We're coming up with different designs. So it's making sure they have different projects, so it's never the same thing. So it keeps their interest up, it keeps them coming back year to year. I like seeing those kids repeat and seeing how their creativity grows from year to year, or their color combinations, or the way that maybe one kid always approaches it from a different viewpoint, and just every year it's like, what are they going to do this time? How are they going to put that together or put their own spin on it? That's exciting for us and for the volunteers too. They love seeing the kids come through. And even though it's the local kind of public range for our kids camps, we do get a lot of out-of-state campers from year to year, in the sense that they are visiting family members and they're looking for something to do while they're here in town in Paducah, either on vacation or just visiting those family members. So we get kids from Illinois, from Tennessee, we usually get Kentucky, of course, we get some from Florida, even Ohio that we've gotten in the past. And that they're coming through and kind of spreading that quilting and spreading what they're learning from the National Quilt Museum, not just to Paducah and the surrounding areas, but then further into those surrounding states, and spreading that love of making quilts and learning about this art form, that they really get to experience this hands-in dive into what they're doing with quilt making as a whole. If you're interested in participating in camp for next year or following years, you can sign up early in the year around March, April time. Camp is held in June every summer. So you can always visit us in person, come on down to the museum, or you can just visit us online, give us a call, and get information about our youth camps and other educational programs.
Thank you for watching Quilt Museum Television. For future episodes, make sure you go to the National Quilt Museum YouTube station and click subscribe. In addition, if you'd like information about any of our upcoming programs, please go to quiltmuseum.org. Also, please follow the museum's Facebook and Instagram accounts. Also, please keep in mind that the National Quilt Museum is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is primarily funded through the generosity of the quilting community. If you'd like to find ways to get involved, go to quiltmuseum.org/get involved. We need everyone involved to achieve our mission and continue to expand our programs. Thank you once again for watching the show. We'll see you next time.